So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, lovely, lovely listener out there. I know you are there and you are tuning in live with me here on the A1R Psychic Radio, the network, Moonstruck TV as well. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm your host, Zsuzsanna Hörcsög, and this is our show, Zsuzsanna Medium, episode 57. Can you believe that? And I tell you what, I'm just so excited to be back. I've got two short stories to tell you today, and you might feel that, oh, how are we going to have the two short stories in here? But then I feel that that is the duality of energy and then duality of light. And then this very clever word, duality, came to me about 5 minutes ago before we started the show. So we needed to receive it. So I really, really hope you are well and you have had a wonderful Easter weekend if you were celebrating Easter. And, you know, you might have time to spend outside or being in your garden, enjoying sun or enjoying your family. But we are back. And you know, the Easter conversation, if you remember 2 weeks ago when I talked about Easter, you know, that is the beginning of the new year. And I was really thinking about that. Actually, we should say that this is a springtime for us here, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. That is the beginning of the new year, as opposed to 1st of January. So here we go. But that's a whole conversation why we have the diary and the calendar and all those things. But I want to tell you two short stories. I want to tell you those stories because, you know, with the stories, what I experience, I know it is an experience. I really feel, and I hope it's really worthwhile sharing it with you, because if it's my experience, then it's likely that it's going to be your experience, you know, sooner or later. But then talking about light. And then, you know, I call this show, actually, I forgot the name of my show, but here we go. It will come to me. That's going to be good. So anyway, oh yes, thank you, Dave. The show is called Zsuzsanna Medium. And then the title of this episode 57, I made the title, I gave it a title, but I just have to remember that. So here we go. All exciting. So a few days ago, I think Friday or Saturday, I was at Easter, you know, I was out in my garden on my fours, kneeling and digging and all my 10 fingers in the soil and really, really working my energy. Excuse me. Working with my energy. When suddenly, excuse me, and suddenly I had this absolutely beautiful energy coming to me. Well, I was in the earthy energy, really, really being there for a couple of hours. And suddenly, out of the blue, unexpectedly, I just heard a voice above my head on my right side, about 2 feet above my head, that God is where I am. That particular sentence came to me. And then at the same time, immediately afterwards, it also said, God is where you are. And now you see, I remember the title of this show because God is where you are. God is where I am. And then you see, it's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I need to tell you the story. I need to tell you the story that the two sentences came at the same time. Because the light, the energy, what they told me was, God is where I am. And it really felt like God, consciousness, spirit, saying is that God, the light, the spirit, is where I am. And I am there everywhere. And that means that is God, that is light, that is spirit. And it's always, always there. But at the same time, there was a different tone to the sentence when it said, God is where you are, as if explaining to me, Zsuzsanna, in the physical format, that God is where you are. And wherever you are, that is God. And that is not the God who is sitting up in the sky, but then God as light and consciousness and the highest of the highest consciousness, what we can access here in our earthly format. And then you see, it really made me sit back and pause a little bit. I had a little rest while I was working, digging and whatnot, doing my work. I pause with that sentence, because the energy was just absolutely so very, very beautiful. And then, when you are working with spiritual energies, you know that you are familiar with the ones who are in spirit consciousness, the grandmothers and so on, the family members, and then the angelic energies that has a different feel, to different sense. And then all the others, Pleiadians, are different for me, but that energy was really so beautifully holding the space with so much love, that it really made me think that the conversation I have in my mind about maybe this person or situation, or all the three-dimensional human ego conversations, that it really made me realize that if I am here, if God is where I am, excuse me, I really need to tell you the story. I really want to tell you the story that God is where I am. It means that where I am, Zsuzsanna, that is light, and that is God, and that is spirit. And then that goes to you as well, my lovely listener, because we can have all the conversations, all the internal dialogues and conversations, and we spend days and weeks and years in our life, the whole life we are spending on thinking about all the things what our mind can create, all the scenarios. But then when we are really, really allowing that energy, the spiritual energy, the highest of the highest consciousness, the light, work with us and come closer to us. Well, of course, it's always there. It's always there. But when we are tuning into that realm, it means that all the other conversations, they dissolve, they disappear. All those concepts, what we are creating, what we have created for ourselves as individuals, we realize that they are not important anymore. And then in that very moment, it made me think that when I'm talking to the next person, a real person, when I'm in a situation where I would normally have a little, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do this, I don't want to talk to that, I don't want to all those conversations. But if I remind myself, and that's your job as well, okay, that if I remember, or when I am reminding myself that light, that's why I'm here in my physical format, to remember the light, to remember spirit consciousness, to remember the highest of the frequency, highest frequency I can access. And then that's why I am here. Then it means it gives a very, very different sensation, very, very different meaning to my life. Because when I'm coming from that space, then I can give something different. And I can see not just give, but I can see the light, and I can see the spirit, and I can sense the spirit of the other person or in the other person. And maybe the other person is not aware of sensing and working with light, but it doesn't matter, because as long as I am, and it's you, that is your conversation as well, that as long as you are present to the light within you, and then you are present to your mission, why you are here on this earth plane, then the whole experience of your life becomes something else, and you will experience it so very, very differently. And then it's a good lesson. It's a brilliant lesson, because it definitely makes me think. And it's like a few days ago it happened, but it really made me think that now, as I'm moving forward, I need to catch myself. Of course, I'm catching myself, because awareness is always working. So once I figure this one out, it means I can't forget about it. And then it means that I can talk about it. And that's the mission, why we are here, to raise the frequency. But it means that in every single situation for the rest of my life, and that goes for you, for the rest of your life, if you are present to what your light is truly is and about, then your life is going to be very, very different. And we need to remember that this conversation is a very, very different frequency, okay? Not the one what we are experiencing this year, 2022, but what we are really brought forward to live on this earth plane. And maybe that is what we need to remember. And in fact, you know what? In fact, I'm taking the word maybe out of the whole situation, the whole conversation, because we don't need the word maybe, because that is the only reason why we are here. So my invitation to you, my lovely listener, who is always here week after week. So I'm very, very grateful for you. Is that tune into that frequency. You know, what is your light? Where is your light? And remembering that that light is a spirit consciousness, that is God. And remember, it's not the one who's sitting up in the sky, but then that conscious energy, which is there, which has been there always, forever, forever, before it came here, and it's going to be here when we are not here. And we are very much part of it. And the only reason why we are here in this earth plane, to remember that God is where I am, God is where you are. So that's spirit consciousness and light and light. So work with that. And remember, Anna Frank, actually, it's quite interesting. This time last year, she said, have the light, have the candle, light a candle, and then have another person to light a candle. Okay? So that we are raising the frequency and we are bringing light forward. Okay? So my lovely friends, my lovely listeners out there, thank you very much for joining in. And I hope it made sense. Let me know how it is resonating with you. Find me on my pages, zsuzsannamedium.com. And I'm going to bring this little show to a closure. Thanks very much for being here. And I'm going to be back in 7 days' time and taking a caller next time. So thank you very much and sending you lots of love. Many, many blessings.